This week on the 77% street debate.
Online hate speech is not the problem in Ethiopia.
ናው ምክንያቱ እሱ ነው በቃ ምንም ሌላ ነገር የለም ምክንያቱ እንደዛ ነው እኔ የሚታየኝ ፖስት በተደረገ ፌስቡክ በዛ የተነሳ ነው ይሄ ረብሽ የተነሳው ማለት ነው
Offending someone should be, you're right, because it's a form of expression.
አገረ መንግስቱ በራሱ ስቴብል የሆነ የተረጋጋ አገረ መንግስት ባለመኖሩ ምክንያት ፖለቲካችን የተመሰረተው በጥላቻ ስለሆነ
መረጃ ተጠናክሮ ፍትህ አላገኘውም የፍትህ አለ ነው ምጮው በቃ
The 77% is in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. And it's in this country that a legislation was recently passed trying to control what they're calling hate speech. But how does this country, and indeed Africa and the rest of the world, define that line between freedom of expression and harmful utterances? That's exactly what we're trying to find out right here. And I'd like to begin with Hadra, who's actually a journalist and has a media communications company. Why is hate speech such a big deal here?
Well, I mean, in the past, people were on social media because they wanted to be seen, they wanted to be heard, they wanted to be popular or famous. But right now, there is an agenda behind it. It's a propaganda. They want to send a message, whether it's a religious issue or political views. And that has increased and spiked. And obviously, that hate speech has somehow moved out of the digital space, and we're seeing it happening on the ground. There are security issues that are going on all over the country. We can mention so many things that happened on information that was posted on social media and that actually impacted people's lives on the ground.
Yeah. So I now want to introduce a very practical example just so that we know what we're talking about here. In October of last year in this country, a gentleman who's very popular politically made a statement on Facebook, and that eventually, or at least it was characterized to have led to violence on the ground. The riots began on the 23rd of October 2019 and lasted for several days. A mob took to the streets, burnt cars and killed several people they thought were their opponents. 86 people died across the country. What caused this horrific outbreak of violence? Allegedly, it was a Facebook post by opposition leader Jawar Mohammed. The politician has a lot of support from the Oromo youth. In his post, he called on his supporters for help, fearing that someone from a rival group was planning to attack him. In response, some of his followers called for war and took to the streets, attacking anyone who stood in their way. But I want to come to Iasped here because you argued that what Jawar, this guy, said didn't qualify as hate speech, and what happened on the ground was actually as a result of ethnic tensions rather than the utterances he had made.
I don't think hate speech is a problem in Ethiopia. At least it's not socially supported. I mean, there are displacements, there are ethnic tensions, there are armed clashes here and there, but are they really caused by hate speech? The internet penetration in Ethiopia is very low, and social media users are like 2% or 1% of the society. So I don't think hate speech or online hate speech is not the problem in Ethiopia.
Okay, I'd like to ask Mr. Wagayo, because he actually lost a son together with his wife, and we actually have to respect that. They're both wearing black because they're still in mourning, and it's very difficult for the mother, as you can see. But Mr. Wagayo, we're hearing there that perhaps the things that happened in Adama were not because of hate speech, and it was because of ethnic tension. How does that make you feel? And if it's okay and if you're comfortable, can you please tell me what happened to your son?
በጥቅምት 13 ነው እንግዲህ ልጄ ሞተው እና እሷ ነበረች እኔ አርሲ ነው የምኖረው እሷ የበለጠው ትናገር ይመቸኛል እሷ for her give for her
ህፃን ነው ልጁ የ10ኛ ክፍል ተማሪ ነው ገና የ16 ዓመት ተማሪ ነው ምንም አይነት ነገር በጉርምስና ዓለም ውስጥ አይደለም ጺም እንኳን አላወጣም ስለ ፖለቲካ የሚያውቀው ነገር የለም ቴሌቪዥን እንኳን እንትን ፊልም ከፊልምና ከስፖርት በስተቀር እንኳን የሚያየው ነገር የለም እና ከጓደኞቹ ጋር ቁጭ ብሎ ያለ ነው ከርቭ ላይ ማለት መኖሪያ ቤታችን እንደዚሁ ነው መታጠፊያ ላይ መጣው ሆዱን እዚህ ጋር ወክተው ተሄዱት ነፍጠኛ ነክ አማራ ነክ ብለው ይወጉት
I'm so sorry for your loss, and I see that you've brought the image of your son clearly, as she's saying, barely an adolescent. And I know that this is very difficult for you, so I'm really terribly sorry, and thank you for speaking to us. So, Mr. Wagayo, I'd like to ask you, do you think that your son would have died if Jawar had not posted on Facebook?
አዎ ምክንያቱ እሱ ነው በቃ ምንም ሌላ ነገር የለም ምክንያቱ እንደዛ ነው እኔ የሚታየኝ ፖስት በተደረገ ፌስቡክ በዛ የተነሳ ነው ይሄ ረብሽ የተነሳው ማለት ነው ሰፈሩ እየተጫወተ ማንንም ሰው ቦርቆ በሚኖርበት ሀገር ውስጥ እበር ተመቶ ነው የተገደለው ልጄ
I want to come back to you, Esbet, because this is obviously in contradiction to what you're saying to me. You're saying hate speech is... Allow me to finish my question. You're saying hate speech is not a problem. And yet these parents are saying, had that post not been put on Facebook, not necessarily Jawar's, it could be anyone else.
Explain that, but first I have to say I'm very, very, very sorry for their loss. And there are at least like 86 persons died in that period of time.
Yeah.
But what really was the cause? Why was all the tensions? Why was all the killings there? What was really the cause for that? Is that a post? Is that a one post? So all these people are there because of one post? I don't get it. I don't think that's a problem. Well, Ethiopia is a very complicated country. There have been ethnic tensions for 50, 60 years. Even there are armed groups that support certain ethnic group in Ethiopia. So a single Facebook post did not did this, and the lion's share is it's the government's fault. I mean, can the government protect their kid?
We're going to come back to the issue of policing in just a short while. Let me ask Hadrat, where do you think the line is then between hate speech and ethnic tension? The sun is really hard on our face today. Yeah.
Again, I'm really sorry about their loss. But when you look at, for instance, the information that was posted on social media, it's an information. You can't really see it as hate speech or being as a misinformation. He just said, I'm surrounded, the police is here, and I need help. And naturally, his supporters came. But then what transpired afterwards is what could be described as hate speech, which led to loss of lives and so on and so forth. It's very difficult to determine the line between an individual expression or hate speech and so on and so forth that brings all these problems to the country.
And speaking of the law, because we did promise that we'd come back to it, it's very specific, saying that any posts made online which lead to violence are what are considered hate speech. And I'm coming back to you, Esbet. Is that unfair? That if you post something not intending for it to be harmful and it is received with violence, that you should be held responsible?
The government is going to use this law. It's obvious. That's what we faced with the ATL. The anti-terror law. Who was imprisoned by the ATL? It was bloggers, it was journalists, it was human rights activists that was in prison.
I'd like to hear from Bereket. Where is he? Where are you? Sorry, right in front of me. So, just bringing it down and distilling it to a human level once more, because why are young people engaged in this kind of behavior? I would imagine that, being from Kenya, my parents' generations and their generations, they didn't know any better. But we know more. Why is it still happening?
ረጅም ጊዜ የነበረው ኢትዮጵያ ውስጥ የሀገረ መንግስቱ በራሱ ስቴብል የሆነ የተረጋጋ ሀገረ መንግስት ባለመኖሩ ምክንያት ፖለቲካችን የተመሰረተው በጥላቻ ስለሆነ በጣም ብዙ ምክንያቶችን ማንሳት ይቻላል። አሁን ላይ ግን ያለው በተለይ በሶሻል ሚዲያው ያለው እንቅስቃሴ ምንድነው? የፖለቲከኞቹና የተጽዕኖ ፈጣሪዎች ሰዎች ነጸብራቅ እየሆነ መጥቷል ወጣቱ ማለት ነው።
Clearly there's a problem. We're hearing people are dying, but at the same time, as Esbet is saying, there needs to be a line, there needs to be a boundary. Where do you see this boundary being?
I mean, we have to make things clear. I mean, what contents have a hate speech? What's hate speech and what's not hate speech? There are government-sponsored people. The government pays the money. They spread fake news. They spread hate speech online on the digital sphere. The government is doing this purposely to just, imprison.
Hadra had a good question, which was, how do you know that? And I'm just going to give her a chance to articulate herself.
No, because this is an information that we hear not just from young people, but from government officials, opposition political parties, everyone who basically says there is a problem in this country, and it seems like because they don't want to take responsibility or actually target the people who are doing this, their escape is there are people who are sponsored by a government or some invisible force that is doing this. So there is an invisible force that is disturbing the peace, and then there is an invisible force.
Force. It's not invisible force. Well, if I have to like mention on a person who publicly tells us this, like you can take Mayor of Addis for example. On his official Facebook page, he said that there are sponsored peoples who are using UNDPs and other organizations' money. They are paid to do this, to defame peoples, to spread fake news, and it's well known fact.
Let me come to Lami, because this is a question whose answer I still haven't received yet. You know, the argument has been made clear. Sometimes the things that are said are not explicitly hateful, but they have influence. And a man like Jawar has a lot of followers. Should he be held responsible for the actions of his followers?
Yes, I believe he must be responsible for his followers, for the actions that his followers has to take. But concerning the October incident, I was in Ambo when in a city where 11 people were died, and they were not part of that hate speech. He said the Jawar's life was in danger. He was surrounded by security forces. His security people were removed, and in the middle of the night, and his Jawar's followers perceived that action as an assassination attempt against him. So they went to defend him because they perceived or assumed him as their leaders. And what he posted on his Facebook page was not hate speech. He said, I am surrounded in the middle of the night, when his life was in danger.
Yeah.
And
okay, and I hate to put you in this situation because obviously you're not Jawar, but should he have considered that perhaps his followers and the situation in Ethiopia is volatile and saying such things might spark violence?
So I believe he has to be responsible, but he himself was not in a position to take a responsibility because he is going to die. So what he said is he wanted to inform the public that his life is in danger, not to incite a violence.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the violence erupted anyway, and as we know, a lot of people died, over 80, as we've heard, including their son. And I just want to play some pictures now of the event as it was unfolding in Adama. You can see there on your screens police officers looking rather undisturbed, even as protesters continue to engage in clashes. And I want to ask our panelists here and the people who are with me, do you think the police are able to handle what is happening offline because of what has been raised online?
I already told you the government is behind everything. They removed Mr. Jawar's security in the middle of the night. What does that mean?
So who
Second thing, the federal police commissioner appeared on TV and he denied everything. Do you believe it? People was around his house. We were watching with our own eyes, and the federal police denied it.
Let me ask the family, because they were there. What was the police reaction as this protests were happening, the skirmishes and obviously the killings?
ፖሊስ ምን አስተዋጽኦ አለው እዚህ ቦታ ላይ? ምንም እኮ ያደረገው ነገር የለም። ፖሊስ ያደረገው ነገር የለም። ለምን ቢባል ቅድሚያ ጥበቃ መደረግ ያለበትን ነገር ጥበቃ አልተደረገም። ከጋ ረብሽኑ ይነሳል። ለምሳሌ ታርጌት ፉል የሆኑ ፕሌሶች አሉ፣ ሰፋሪዎች ያሉበት አካባቢ አለ፣ ማህበረሰቡ ሆት የሆነበት አካባቢ አለ። እነዛ አካባቢ በቁጥጥር ስር ቢያንስ ጥበቃ ተደርጎላቸው ቢሆን ሸሽቶ ወደ ቤት መመለስ ባይኖር ምናልባት ሴቭ ይደረጋል። የሰው ህይወት ላያልፍ ይችላል ማለት ነው። እኔን አሁን እኛን የገጠመን ለምሳሌ አስከሬኑ ቤት ከገባ በኋላ እኮ ለቀስተኛው ላይ ጭስ ቦምብ ነው የተወረወረው። ስለዚህ
So I just want to introduce a new voice here, because we're hearing that the police might not the police are either not doing anything, and they've also been accused of being complicit in the violence. And I'm asking you because you're a journalist and you have a more objective feel of this. Would you say that's true? Would you characterize it as truth?
Not only for this event, but I've followed different events where similar chaoses happened. I think there were some gaps between communication between different kinds of security forces, including the National Defense Force, the Federal Police, the Special Police, and the local polices. My friend here from Ambo can tell you what happened in Ambo when federal security people and local security people were in quarrel, supporting different causes. So I think even the government would not deny that there was some communication gaps, and you can relate that to the current political transition and hierarchy and chain of commands.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Because we're hearing there's a law, it might not necessarily be the best, and also the people who are supposed to enforce this law might have a stake. So how do we resolve this? How do we make sure that we are not talking about hate speech, ethnic tensions? Can I hear from the people at the back, anyone who hasn't spoken? You look like you want to talk.
Okay, I've been trying to ask these questions for a long time. Have any of us wondered what would happen if Jawar actually didn't send that message? What actually would have happened if he was in fact assassinated? I mean, the consequences would have been much harder than that. So the message was sent. Yes, it's clear. It's not the only message that has been sent in the world. Somebody asking for help. So our government is completely failing at making peace, and is just squandering all over the place, trying to get these laws in order to pin these problems on ordinary people.
Okay, and obviously the people watching us, indeed from Africa, and as I mentioned, the rest of the world can relate to this, because we're hearing it's a problem of PC. We're too sensitive, especially on social media. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, I still have the same question I asked you earlier. Where is the line really between, because I want to be able to speak openly online without being prosecuted.
It's in my blood to actually speak my mind, to report facts. But then at the same time, that even if it's a fact, what you say, what you report, it's not just online, but offline could also be taken in a completely different way, and the consequences would be unspeakable. The problem also is nobody really knows the definition of hate speech. You can define misinformation and disinformation and you put them in a box. But hate speech is it hate speech, or are you offending someone? Which is offending someone should be. You're right, because it's a form of expression, exactly. So all we can do as a country, as Ethiopia, with political spaces opening up, with the internet, hopefully, with international press coming in, as also opening up, we should have continuous dialogue.
All right, let me come to Ledet and Lydia, because, this is what you're doing currently. You're mapping, and you said you don't have any concrete data yet. But you did say that you've noticed that the level of hate speech tends to go up when there's certain events coming up. So the election is just around the corner. What are we anticipating?
Well, people have to stop this hate speech because it's triggering a violence and a chaos around people. So the remedy, I believe, is that there should be a media literacy. People have to know that what to disseminate and what to not. So they have to check the facts. Fact-checking should be, a trend for Ethiopian people or any other young people. So the other thing is that the government should be accountable and transparent so that people do not disseminate misinformation and disinformation. So with regarding the election, the government should give a reliable information about the elections, what's going on and what's happening on the ground. So if there is credible information, people now will not disseminate any mis and disinformation.
Okay. We've been talking a lot about Ethiopia being a country in transition. Do you think this law came in too early, too quick, that Ethiopia should have been given more room to experience this free space before crafting legislation?
In the first place, I do not believe that this law is necessary right now. It will be used by the government to suppress the voice of the opposition forces and also the voice of the dissidents and the activists and those who want this historic election to be successful, free and fair, and used to install the government of the people, from the people to the people.
And before you jump in, I understand that we have two more people from Adama, yeah? So you've been following the conversation that we've been having, and I just asked about the law. Do you think that if this law had been implemented, then your businesses would have been saved, your communities would still be solid?
ከዚህም በላይ ነው። ከቢዝነስም ባሻገር የሰው ህይወትም ሊተርፍ ይችላል። የሄት ስፒች እንደሆነ ወይም የጥላቻ ንግግር እንደሆነ የሚያስታውቀው ቅድሚያ በሚዲያ ላይ የተሰራ ስራ አለ። ከሩቅ ቦታ የመጣ የተዘጋጀበት ነገር እንደሆነ የምታውቀው ሌሊት 6 ሰዓት ላይ የተለቀቀ ነገር 11 ሰዓት ላይ 400-500 ኪሎ ሜትር ተሻግሮ የሚመጣ ማንም አካል አይኖርም እና ይሄ ነገር ህጋዊ ቢሆን ኖሮ ወይም እንደዚህ አይነት የጥላቻ ንግግሮች ባይኖሩ ኖሮ እንደዚህ አይነት ክስተቶች የሚያስጠላ አይነት ክስተት አይከሰትም ነበር። ለምሳሌ አሁንም ለተከሰተው መጠላላት
እና ብዙ ንብረቶች የሚወደሙት የፖሊስ ክፍተትም አለ፣ የህግ ማዕከል ክፍተት አለ። መጀመሪያ ተዘጋጅተው የመጡ ናቸው። ተዘጋጅተው ባይመጡ ኖሮ ጠዋት ነው ይሄ ነገር ተጀመረኛ ቁጭ ብለው እኔ እናቴ ሞታ ለቅሶ ላይ ቁጭ ብዬ ነው በሶስተኛ ቀን ባጃጅ ተቃጠለ ተብዬ ስወጣ ጭራሽ እኔም ተፈንክቼ ወደኩኝ እና ያ ነገር ተዘጋጅተው ባይመጡበት እንትን ባይሉ ኖሮ ይሄ ነገር አይከሰትም። ብዙ ነው አሁን የተደበቀ ነው እንጂ ብዙ ህይወት ሞቷል፣ ብዙ ሰው ተቀጥፏል።
But as he's receiving his phone, I just want to open a question to the people who are watching from the back. I keep hearing the words, I'm Oromo, Amhara. So is the problem in Ethiopia hate speech or is it ethnic tensions? Can I please hear from some people at the back? Anyone? Yeah.
Okay. The problem seems to be a combination of both ethnic tensions and religious tensions. Claiming it's only ethnic problems is simplifying the problem. Claiming it's only political issues that are causing this is also simplifying the problem. So trying to see it as an overall view of a country that has had a lot of repression in information is the best way to go about it. Information in everything from religion to politics to ethnicity and how it means to be a country is what is causing this violence.
Okay, so let's now talk about solutions as we wrap up. How do we ensure that we don't have any more deaths in the future as a result of things that people have said online? How do we ensure that we protect freedom of expression without necessarily using sweeping laws?
I have to say something first. Right? Let's look at the trend in Africa who are passing these anti-hate speech bills. Like Uganda, a dictatorial regime. Who's going to, differentiate and who's going to censor and regulate and say this is a hate speech, you committed a hate speech, so you're going to be fined by money or you're going to you're going to get imprisoned? Who's going to say that? The court? The same court that sent Iskender Nega to prison? The same court that sent Bakala Garba to prison? Is that the court that we believe? I don't think so. That's the court still. So it's all, rubbish.
So, solutions.
So the solution is having a legitimate government that's elected by the people, that have a monopoly of power, and that's a democratically accountable government. Having that is a solution.
Okay. Lidette, I hope you have something more positive to tell us. What are the solutions, do you think?
The users at large should be literated about the media starting from primary school. They should be told that they should respect the boundary of others. There is of course diverse ethnicity groups, but that doesn't mean that it should be a cause for us to be against one another.
Education and civic participation. And Barakat, you're actually doing something similar, trying to move away from the law and inform people using social media.
የኛ ቴሌግራም ቻናል ነው። ወደ 500,000 ፎሎወሮች አሉን። በዚህ ሶሻል ሚዲያ የሰራነው ነገር ምንድነው? ወጣቱ በምክንያት የሚያስብ በምክንያት የሚቃወም ትውልድ ለመፍጠር በሌሎች የማይመራ የራሱን ሀሳብ የሚይዝ በዛ ላይም ደግሞ ጥላቻ ምን ያህል አደገኛ እንደሆነ የሚያውቅ ትውልድ እንዲፈጠር ነው።
Okay, and finally I want to come to the parents. Do you think there's a way out of this? What's the solution?
ያሉት ህጎች ስራ ላይ መዋል መቻል አለባቸው። መንግስት ጠንካራ መሆን መቻል አለበት። ከዛ በኋላ ግን ከጀርባ ሆኖ የሚቀልድም መታወቅ መቻል አለበት። የመጨረሻው ግን ሐሳብ የምሰጥሽ ምንድነው እሱ ሰዎች ሞተዋል። የሰዎች ደም ፈሷል። ያ ደም ፍትህ ይፈልጋል፣ ይጮሃል። እኔን ያመጣኝ የልጆች ደም ነው፣ የወጣቶች ደም ነው እዚህ ያመጣኝ። በቃ ይሄ ፍትህ የሞቱት ደም ካልተመለሰ ኢናናዘር ግሩፕ ሌላ አርግዞ ነው የሚጠብቀው። ስለዚህ ለውጡ ፍትሃዊ ነገር ካላመጣ መቼም እቺ ሀገር የተረጋጋች ልትሆን ስለማትችል ለሞቱት ልጆቻችን መፍትሄ ይምጣ። 125 ቀኑ ነው ልጄ ከሞተ። እስካሁን ግን መረጃ መዳፍ የምታክል ቦታ ላይ ልጄ ሞቶ መረጃ ተጠናክሮ ፍትህ አላገኘውም። የፍትህ አለ ነው ምጮው በቃ።
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up this debate. It's one of those conversations where you peel one layer and you find 13 more. I don't know how you feel about this, but thank you for watching.